Hello everyone, welcome to SleepSpace. Tonight we will talk about a question that has lingered in human thought for thousands of years. What if your life was chosen long before you were born? As you settle in and allow yourself to relax, let's explore the fascinating possibility that the path you're walking may have been decided, shaped, or even designed before you ever took your first breath. This idea is not new. Across cultures and across time, people have imagined that destiny, fate, or some invisible hand has laid out the details of our lives. Some traditions speak of a soul blueprint, others of karma, divine will, or the unfolding of the cosmos according to laws we can't fully understand. Even modern science, with its discoveries in genetics, neurology, and the subtle influence of environment, raises the question of just how much of who we are is determined before we arrive on the stage of life. To begin, think about your own existence for a moment. The fact that you are here at all required an unbroken chain of events stretching back billions of years. The stars had to form and explode to scatter the elements that make up your body. The Earth had to come into being in just the right place in the galaxy, with just the right conditions for life. Evolution had to shape organisms across countless generations, eventually leading to human beings. Your parents had to meet. They had to create you at exactly the right moment, because even a tiny difference would have meant an entirely different genetic code. When you pause and trace it all back, it becomes almost overwhelming to realize how many conditions had to align for you to exist exactly as you are right now. This is the first layer of the idea that the story of your life may have been unfolding long before your birth simply because of cause and effect. If any link in the chain of events had been broken, you wouldn't be here to wonder about it. From this perspective, perhaps your life was always inevitable, the consequence of countless cosmic dominoes falling in just the right order. But there's another way to think about it. Many spiritual traditions suggest that your soul, or your consciousness, chose this life before entering it. In Hindu and Buddhist thought, reincarnation is often described as a cycle where the circumstances of each birth are shaped by karma. What you did in previous lives influences what challenges, lessons, and opportunities you encounter in this one. Similarly, in certain mystical traditions, there are stories of souls gathering in some realm before birth, reviewing what they still need to learn, and then selecting a new life that will provide the right lessons. If this is true, then you didn't just appear by accident. Instead, you, or some deeper part of you, chose this life for reasons you might not fully understand right now. Of course, science takes a different angle. Genetics play a profound role in shaping who we become. From the moment of conception, your DNA carries instructions that influence everything from your physical appearance to aspects of your personality, your likelihood of developing certain talents, and even vulnerabilities. Epigenetics, the study of how environments can switch genes on or off, adds another layer of pre-written possibility. In a way, the script of your life begins before you are born, not because of cosmic choice, but because of molecular instructions that shape your body and mind. You are already set on a path, at least partially, the moment your genetic blueprint was sealed. Neuroscience deepens this mystery even further. Studies suggest that many of the decisions we make are influenced by unconscious processes in the brain before we are even aware of them. In experiments, scientists can sometimes predict what a person will choose seconds before the person consciously knows. If our choices emerge from brain activity that we don't control, does that mean our actions were already chosen before we thought we chose them? And if so, how much freedom do we really have? This tension between free will and destiny has been debated for centuries. On one hand, we feel as if we are making decisions, steering the course of our lives. On the other hand, when we look back, it often seems as though certain events were unavoidable. as though life was nudging us in particular directions no matter what. Some philosophers describe this as compatibilism, the idea that free will and determinism might both be true, that we make choices, but always within a framework that was established long before we were born. But let's stretch the imagination further. Imagine for a moment that before you came into this world, you stood before a vast array of possibilities. Each potential life was laid out like a book waiting to be read. Some were filled with joy, others with hardship, but each carried unique lessons and opportunities. What if you, or some greater intelligence, selected the book you are living right now? If that were the case, then even the most difficult moments might carry hidden meaning. The struggles you face may not be accidents, but parts of the story you agreed to walk through. This idea brings comfort to many people. If life is chosen in advance, then even suffering can feel purposeful. The hardships you endure might be the very experiences your soul needs to grow. And the moments of beauty, love, and wonder might be gifts you intentionally placed along your path as reminders of why you are here. Of course, skeptics push back. They point out that suffering often feels senseless, that randomness plays a huge role in who lives and who dies, who thrives and who struggles. Accidents, disasters, and inequalities seem less like parts of a chosen plan and more like the indifferent workings of chance. But even here, the question remains: is it truly chance, or are we simply unable to see the larger pattern? Think about your own life again. Have you ever experienced a coincidence so uncanny that it felt like more than chance? Meeting someone who would change your life in a completely unexpected way. Being in the right place at the right time. Or even narrowly avoiding disaster for reasons you can't explain. These moments make us wonder if there is a thread of intention weaving through the fabric of existence, guiding us along a path that was prepared long ago. When ancient cultures tried to make sense of these mysteries, they often turned to myth. In Greek mythology, the Moirai, or fates, were said to spin, measure, and cut the thread of each person's life. In Norse mythology, the Norns did something similar, shaping the destinies of gods and men alike. In these stories, destiny wasn't a vague concept. It was tangible, almost like a fabric woven by unseen hands. And while modern people may not believe in literal weavers of fate, the metaphor still resonates. Our lives often feel like threads woven into a vast tapestry, part of a design too large for us to see. At the same time, we can't ignore that we feel a deep sense of choice. Each day you wake up and make decisions that alter your future in small or large ways. The balance between destiny and free will is like a dance. Perhaps the stage and the music were chosen long ago, but the way you move within that space is yours to decide. So as you rest tonight, consider the possibility that your life might be both chosen and free. The path may have been laid before you were born, but how you walk it, how you experience it, and what meaning you take from it, that part remains alive in every moment. Who or what is doing the choosing? Is it a divine intelligence that sets the course of every life? Is it your own soul existing beyond time, selecting experiences like an artist choosing colours for a painting? Or is it the silent unfolding of natural law, where the past determines the present in such a precise way that your existence was always inevitable? To explore this further, let's start with the human body itself. Long before you took your first breath, the blueprint for who you are was being formed. Your DNA carried the instructions for your physical form, but also subtle influences on your temperament, aptitudes, and vulnerabilities. Even before you were conscious of the world, you were already being shaped. The womb itself becomes the first environment you encounter, and it can influence you in ways that last a lifetime. Stress, nutrition, and emotions experienced by your mother leave an imprint on your developing body and mind. In a sense, your story began not just before you were born, but before you were conceived, because your parents' lives, their choices, their genes, and their circumstances all became part of the foundation that made you. Yet when we consider these influences, we still feel compelled to ask, why this particular combination? Why were you born to these parents in this time, in this place, with these circumstances? Across cultures, myths have offered answers. In some, it is said that souls choose their families before birth. In others, it is fate that draws people into certain circumstances, ensuring that they will live out what is necessary for the unfolding of a greater plan. Whether by choice or by destiny, the conditions of your birth often feel like the first chapter of a book already written. But here is where the mystery deepens. Many people who have gone through near-death experiences or spiritual visions report memories of what they describe as a before life. In these accounts, souls sometimes gather with guides or beings of light, reviewing what they will experience in the next lifetime. Some describe choosing specific challenges, relationships, and even moments of difficulty as opportunities for growth. If such experiences hold any truth, then your life was not only chosen before birth, it was chosen with intention. That would mean every joy, every trial, every unexpected turn of your path is part of a curriculum your soul agreed to undertake. Of course, these accounts are not scientific proof, but they are strikingly similar across cultures and across people who never knew each other. This raises a profound possibility. Perhaps there is a hidden dimension to our existence, one that remembers what came before and what comes after. From a scientific perspective, the question looks different but no less mysterious. Physics teaches us that time is not as straightforward as it seems. Einstein's theory of relativity suggests that past, present, and future are all part of a single fabric known as space-time. If time is like a landscape that already exists, then every moment of your life, past, present, and future, may already be laid out. From this perspective, your life is not being written as you go, but has always been present, like a path winding through the hills. You are simply moving through it, experiencing each moment as though it were new, even though, in some sense, it already exists. This can be difficult to grasp because our everyday experience makes time feel like a flowing river. But if physicists are correct, then your life might not be a river being carved into stone. It may be a river that has always existed, with every bend and turn already in place. If so, then your life, in a strange way, was indeed chosen or fixed before you were born, because every moment you will ever experience already exists within the grand structure of time. Yet even within this structure, there remains the question of freedom. If your future already exists, are you merely playing out a script, or are you still an active participant? Some thinkers suggest that even if the broad strokes of life are fixed, the details are alive with possibility. Like a character in a story, you may not control the overall arc, but you bring uniqueness to every scene through your choices, emotions, and awareness. Consider also the psychological dimension. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, believed that much of what we experience is influenced by what he called the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of patterns, symbols, and archetypes shared by all humans. From this perspective, your life may have been shaped by deep, universal patterns that existed long before you. The struggles you face may echo struggles faced by countless generations before you. The joys you feel may reflect timeless human experiences woven into the fabric of existence. If this is true, then your life was, in some sense, chosen by the very structure of the human mind. which carries ancient blueprints of meaning. But let's pause for a moment and think about what it feels like to imagine your life as chosen before birth. On one hand, it can bring peace. If your life is not random, then everything you experience, both the beautiful and the painful, has a place in a larger picture. On the other hand, it can also bring unease. If your path was chosen, does that mean you have no control? Are you simply acting out a plan that was made for you? This tension lies at the heart of the human experience. We feel both guided and free. We sense both mystery and choice. Perhaps this duality is not a problem to be solved, but a truth to be lived. Some philosophers have suggested that the deepest part of you, the part beyond time, beyond personality, is both the chooser and the one living the choice. In this view, you are not a puppet following a script. You are the author and the actor existing on multiple levels at once. At the deepest level, your soul may have chosen this life before birth. But within the life itself, you experience the unfolding of that choice as if it were brand new. It is both predestined and spontaneous, both written and improvised. If this is true, then your life is not a prison of fate, but a living story. The challenges are the obstacles you agreed to face. The people you meet are fellow characters playing roles in your growth, and the moments of wonder are reminders of the deeper reality you came from. Even the hardships may carry seeds of transformation, shaping you in ways that only make sense when seen from a broader perspective. Think of it like entering a dream. Before sleep, you may set an intention. Once inside the dream, you forget that you chose it and you live it as though it is real. Life may work the same way. Before birth, your soul may choose a set of experiences. Once you are here, you forget the choice, so the experiences feel real, immediate, and full of discovery. The forgetting itself may be part of the design, allowing you to live the story fully. When we look back on our lives, we often see patterns that were invisible at the time. A painful setback that later led to an unexpected opportunity. A chance meeting that redirected the entire course of your life. These patterns sometimes feel as if they were placed there, like signposts along a path. If life was chosen before birth, then these patterns might be the echoes of a design we cannot fully see while we are living it. As you think about this possibility, you might begin to see your own story differently. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you might ask, "Why did I, or something greater, choose this?" That question doesn't erase pain or difficulty, but it transforms them. It invites you to look for meaning, growth, and purpose, even in the hardest of times. If your life was chosen before you were born, then the events and experiences you are living now may be more than accidents or coincidences. They may be part of a design that stretches far beyond what you can currently see. But this naturally leads to another question. If there is a plan, who or what is behind it? Different traditions give different answers. For some, the divine is the author of the script, placing each soul in the perfect situation for its journey. For others, it is the soul itself, choosing its path with a kind of higher wisdom before entering the world. Still others suggest that destiny is the natural consequence of cause and effect, the unfolding of cosmic laws, without the need for a conscious planner. But regardless of the explanation, the idea that your life was prepared for you carries a sense of depth, a sense that you are part of something larger than yourself. One of the most striking aspects of this idea is how it changes the way we view challenges. Imagine a mountain climber who sets out to climb a dangerous peak. The journey is grueling, filled with risk and often painful, yet the climber chose the mountain precisely because of those difficulties, knowing that the struggle itself would bring growth, strength, and triumph. What if your soul chose this life in the same way? The challenges, difficulties, and even the heartbreaks may not be punishments or accidents, but carefully chosen terrains meant to shape you into something greater. This perspective can be found in many ancient teachings. In certain indigenous traditions, for example, it is said that the soul selects trials before birth, knowing they will lead to wisdom. In Tibetan Buddhism, life is often seen as a rare and precious opportunity for spiritual advancement, as though being born itself was not random, but a gift that came with purpose. The idea is not that life will be easy, but that it will be meaningful. Of course, modern science looks at this differently, but it still suggests that your life is shaped long before you are aware of it. Consider the field of behavioral genetics. Studies of twins separated at birth have revealed astonishing similarities in personality, preferences, and even life choices. People who never knew each other, raised in completely different environments, often grow up to display the same quirks, habits, and tendencies. This suggests that so much of who you are was already present before your conscious mind ever began making decisions. If genetics are the script, then your life may, in some sense, have been written into your very cells before you took your first breath. But even genetics are not the full story. Epigenetics has shown that environment can activate or silence certain genes, shaping the way your potential unfolds. This means that your life is both chosen and flexible, both written and responsive. Perhaps this is the balance. The broad strokes are chosen before birth, but the finer details are shaped as you live them out. The plan gives structure, while your choices give it colour. Philosophers have wrestled with this balance for centuries. The debate over free will versus determinism is as old as human thought. Determinists argue that everything is the result of cause and effect, meaning your future is already set by the chain of events stretching back to the beginning of time. Free will advocates argue that we have the power to shape our destinies, to break free from the chain. But what if both perspectives are partly true? What if your life was chosen in advance, but you still possess the freedom to decide how you live within it? Think of it like a musical score. The notes are written down, and the melody exists before the musician begins to play. Yet every performance is different, filled with subtle choices in tone, rhythm, and feeling. Perhaps your life is similar. The overall composition was chosen before birth, but you are the performer, breathing life into it with your unique expression. This way of thinking can change how we see meaning in everyday life. If the story of your life was chosen, then the people you meet may not be random encounters. They may be characters who were meant to cross your path, each bringing lessons, challenges, or gifts. Even brief interactions may carry significance in ways you cannot see at the time. How many times has a single conversation altered the direction of your thoughts, your choices, or even your future? What if none of those moments were accidental? The concept of synchronicity introduced by Carl Jung speaks to this. He described meaningful coincidences that feel too connected to be explained by chance alone. You think of someone and they call you. You struggle with a question and the answer appears in an unexpected way. Synchronicities suggest that life may be threaded with intention, that the path you walk is filled with signs and symbols guiding you forward. If your life was chosen before birth, then synchronicities may be the breadcrumbs left to help you remember the path. From another angle, consider the role of intuition. Sometimes you feel drawn to something without knowing why. A career path, a person, a decision. Other times you feel warned away from a choice, as though something inside you knows what lies ahead. If your life was chosen, then intuition may be the whisper of your deeper self, gently nudging you toward the direction you agreed to walk before you were born. Even modern neuroscience reveals something fascinating here. Studies show that the brain often makes decisions seconds before you are consciously aware of them. This raises the question, who or what is making the choice before your conscious mind catches up? Could it be that a deeper layer of your being, one connected to the plan chosen before birth, is always quietly guiding the surface of your awareness? But what about suffering, the question that often challenges this idea the most? If a life was chosen in advance, why would anyone choose pain, loss, or hardship? This is where the mystery deepens again. Some traditions say that hardship is a form of refinement, like fire shaping metal. The soul, in this view, does not seek comfort, it seeks growth. Pain becomes a teacher, carving wisdom into the spirit in ways that comfort cannot. From this perspective, even the darkest moments may carry light, though we may only recognize it much later. And yet, it is natural to resist this idea. To someone in the midst of suffering, the notion that it was chosen can feel cruel. Perhaps this is why the mystery is veiled, because knowing in advance might change the experience. If you knew every detail of the hardships ahead, would you still live them fully? Or would you resist them, trying to escape the very lessons you agreed to learn? Forgetting the plan may be part of the plan, allowing life to unfold with authenticity. This brings us back to the question of perspective. Imagine you're reading a book. The ending is already written, but as you move through each chapter, you don't yet know what will happen. The surprises, the joys, and the sorrows all feel real, even though the author has already decided the conclusion. What if your life works the same way? You are both the reader and the character, discovering each page as you go. Even though the story may already be complete in another dimension of existence. In fact, modern physics again supports this possibility. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that all possibilities exist simultaneously until observed. If this is true, then perhaps your soul, before birth, selected one path among countless potential lives, collapsing possibility into the reality you now experience. The life you are living may be one choice among infinite versions of yourself, each playing out in different universes. In that sense, you were chosen, and you chose all at once. When you consider the enormity of this idea, it is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it suggests that your life is part of a vast design you cannot fully see. Empowering because it suggests that your existence is not random. It was prepared, chosen, and filled with meaning from the very beginning. The next question becomes, how much of it is fixed, and how much is still unfolding through your choices? This is where the idea of destiny and free will begins to intertwine in ways that are both mysterious and fascinating. Think for a moment about the story of your own life. There are moments that feel as if they could not have happened any other way. Perhaps it was the way you met someone important, or the exact timing of an event that altered everything afterward. At the same time, there are choices you clearly made, decisions that could have gone differently, leading you down other paths. So how do we reconcile these two realities? Some traditions offer the idea of a life plan, a blueprint chosen before birth that sets the major themes and turning points of your life. According to this view, the broad outlines are chosen, but the details are flexible. It is as if you selected a particular journey with key milestones, lessons to learn, challenges to overcome, people to encounter. But how you move between those milestones and what you make of them is left to your free will. For example, imagine you chose before birth to experience the lesson of resilience. That theme could unfold in countless ways. Perhaps you face illness, loss, or failure. Each situation might look different, but the underlying theme, the chance to grow stronger in the face of adversity, remains constant. In this sense, the blueprint is set, but the way you live it is uniquely yours. This perspective brings a new way of looking at life's difficulties. Instead of seeing them as meaningless suffering, you might begin to view them as chosen opportunities, as though you planted certain challenges in your path before you began, knowing they would shape you in important ways. From within the story, it may feel unfair or confusing, but from beyond the story, from the viewpoint of the soul, it may be exactly what you needed to become who you are meant to be. In psychology, we sometimes see echoes of this in the way people create meaning from trauma. Two individuals can go through similar hardships, but one emerges bitter, while the other emerges wise. The difference often lies in the meaning they assign to the experience. If you believed, even faintly, that your hardships were chosen for a purpose, you might approach them with a different kind of strength. Pain may still hurt, but it would not feel empty. It would feel like part of a larger story unfolding with intention. Science, of course, frames this differently. It shows us how the brain is shaped by experience, how plastic and adaptable the human mind is. Neuroplasticity means that even in the face of difficulty, the brain can rewire itself, creating new patterns of thought, behavior, and resilience. From this perspective, hardship is not a punishment but a catalyst, activating potentials that might otherwise remain dormant. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps this is why challenges are included, because they spark the very growth that defines who you become. Another way to think about this is through the metaphor of a map. Before birth, imagine that a map was laid out for you. Certain landmarks are fixed: the family you are born into, the talents you carry, the major challenges you will face. But the routes between those landmarks are countless. You might take the long road, the shortcut, or the winding detour. You might walk slowly or run quickly. The destination is set, but the journey is yours to create. This balance between fate and freedom has fascinated philosophers for centuries. In the ancient world, the Stoics believed that while the grand events of life were fated, our inner response to them was entirely our own. They compared life to being a dog tied to a moving cart. The cart will keep moving no matter what, but the dog can either resist and be dragged or choose to run alongside freely. In the same way, perhaps your life plan is fixed in certain ways, but how you meet it, whether with resistance or acceptance, is your choice. In Eastern philosophy, there is a similar idea in the concept of dharma. Dharma refers to the path, duty, or truth of your life, the role you are meant to play within the larger harmony of existence. Each person's dharma is unique, shaped by who they are and the circumstances they are born into. Living in alignment with your dharma brings a sense of purpose and flow. Ignoring it often leads to struggle and confusion. If your life was chosen before birth, then your dharma may be the essence of that choice, the unique path you are here to walk. But destiny does not mean rigidity. Even if certain elements are chosen, the richness of life comes from how you bring yourself to them. Think of two artists given the same set of paints. Each will create a completely different masterpiece. In the same way, even if your soul chose certain conditions, the way you live them out is your art. Now consider the role of relationships. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps the people in it were chosen too. The parents who raised you, the friends who shaped you, the loves who opened your heart, and even the ones who hurt you. What if each was part of the plan? Some traditions call these soul contracts, agreements made before birth between souls who decide to play roles in each other's stories. From this perspective, even painful relationships may hold hidden purpose, serving as catalysts for growth, forgiveness, or transformation. This idea can be both comforting and challenging. Comforting because it means you are never alone. Others are walking beside you, connected in ways deeper than you realize. Challenging because it asks you to see meaning even in the relationships that caused pain. If they were chosen before birth, then perhaps they carried a lesson your soul needed, even if your human heart struggles to understand it. Science offers its own perspective here as well. It shows us how relationships literally shape the brain. Our earliest bonds with parents and caregivers influence our sense of safety, love, and belonging. Later, relationships continue to rewire the brain, reinforcing patterns of trust or mistrust, love or fear. In this sense, the people in your life do not just influence your emotions, they shape the very structure of your mind. If your life was chosen, then the people in it may be the most powerful elements of that choice, because they help form the very person you become. But what about choice itself? If your life was chosen, do your daily decisions matter? The answer may be yes, in ways more profound than you realize. Imagine a script that outlines the key events of a play, but leaves the dialogue to the actors. The story will reach its turning points, but the way it unfolds, the emotions expressed, the meaning conveyed, all depend on the choices made in the moment. Your free will may operate the same way, filling in the richness of the story chosen long ago. This perspective invites a new way of living. If your life was chosen, then every experience, whether joyful or painful, carries hidden significance. And if your choices matter, then every moment is an opportunity to bring greater awareness, love, and meaning to the story. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you might ask, "What is this teaching me? How can I live this chapter with greater presence and purpose?" Seen this way, destiny and free will are not opposites. They are partners. Destiny provides the structure, the outline, the themes. Free will provides the expression, the depth, the meaning. Together, they create a story that is both chosen and alive. And maybe this is the great mystery of being human. Before birth, your soul may have chosen a path. In life, you walk it without remembering that choice. The forgetting makes the story real, the challenges authentic, and the joys profound. But deep within you, in moments of intuition, synchronicity, or sudden clarity, you catch glimpses of the truth, that your life is not random, but part of a design that began long before you arrived. Think about how your actions ripple outward. A word spoken in kindness may inspire someone in ways you'll never know. A decision you make today may affect someone's life years from now, long after you've forgotten about it. These ripples extend across families, communities, and generations. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps those ripples were also part of the design. The people you influence, even without realizing it, may be experiencing their own chosen journeys that intersect with yours in ways that create a grander pattern. In many spiritual traditions, this interconnectedness is emphasized. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of karma describes how actions ripple through time, not only shaping future experiences in this life, but also in lifetimes to come. In Buddhism, the idea of interdependence teaches that nothing exists in isolation. Every moment is the result of countless causes and conditions. If your life was chosen before birth, it may have been chosen not only for your own growth, but also for the roles you play in the lives of others. You may be a teacher in one story, a student in another, a challenge in someone else's journey, and a source of healing in yet another. Even in modern science, we see reflections of this interconnectedness. Ecology teaches us that every organism is part of a vast web of life. Remove one species and the balance shifts for countless others. In the same way, each human life contributes to the ecosystem of humanity. Your choices, your presence, and your journey matter because they shape the larger world in ways you cannot always see. If your life was chosen before birth, then it may not have been chosen only for you. It may have been chosen for the countless connections you would make, for the impact you would have on others, and for the ways you would participate in the unfolding of human history. In this sense, your life is both deeply personal and profoundly collective. This idea can be both inspiring and humbling. Inspiring because it means your life carries meaning far beyond what you might imagine. Humbling because it reminds you that you are one thread among many, part of a story much larger than yourself. The joy is in recognizing that your thread matters, that the tapestry would not be the same without you. Let's take this even further. If your life was chosen before birth, then time itself may not be what it seems. We experience time as a flow from past to future, but as physics reminds us, time may actually be more like a landscape, where all moments exist at once. From this perspective, the life you are living now is already complete, stretching from beginning to end in a dimension beyond your perception. If your soul exists outside of time, then perhaps it was able to see your entire life all at once, and choose it as a whole experience, not as a series of separate events. Imagine standing before a library filled with books, each one representing a different possible life. Some are short, others long. Some are filled with drama, others with peace. Each book contains a complete story, beginning to end. What if, before birth, your soul walked into that library and selected one book to live through? The choice may not have been random. It may have been guided by what your soul needed to experience, what others needed from you, and what the greater story of humanity required at that moment. Once the book was chosen, you entered it, forgetting that you were the reader, and began living as the character within its pages. This metaphor helps explain why life can feel both predestined and open. The book exists, the story is written, but your experience of reading it is alive. You turn each page with anticipation, never quite knowing what comes next, even though the ending is already there. And just as a book can be read with different emotions, joy, sorrow, curiosity, your life can be lived with different perspectives, even if the events remain the same. From another angle, we can think about the role of memory and forgetting. If your life was chosen before birth, why don't you remember making that choice? Many traditions suggest that forgetting is necessary, because remembering would change the experience. Imagine playing a game where you already know the outcome. It would lose its meaning. Forgetting allows you to live fully, to feel the joy and sorrow authentically, as though for the first time. But occasionally, glimpses break through, moments of déjà vu, intuition, or a strange sense of recognition when you meet someone new. These glimpses may be reminders of the choice you once made, whispers from beyond the veil of forgetting. Even in modern psychology, we see hints of this. Researchers studying implicit memory have shown that the brain stores vast amounts of information outside conscious awareness. You may not remember an event, but your body and mind carry its imprint. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps the choice is stored in a deeper memory, a kind of soul memory that occasionally surfaces in subtle ways, guiding you without your conscious awareness. This brings us to the fascinating concept of purpose. If your life was chosen, then it was chosen for a reason. But how do you discover that reason? Some traditions say it is revealed through passion, the activities that light you up, the interests that feel natural, the pursuits that give you energy. Others say it is revealed through challenges, the struggles you face, the obstacles that demand growth. Perhaps it is both. Purpose may be the meeting point between what excites you and what tests you, the place where your talents and your trials converge. Think of the great figures of history, the ones who seem destined for their roles. Did Martin Luther King Jr. choose to be a voice for justice before birth? Did Marie Curie choose to devote her life to science, uncovering discoveries that would change the world? Or did their circumstances and choices simply lead them there? We cannot know for certain, but it often feels as though their lives carried a kind of inevitability, as though they were walking paths prepared long before. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps you too are walking a path with its own kind of inevitability, even if it is quieter, more personal, less visible on the grand stage of history. But purpose does not always reveal itself dramatically. Often it is found in the small, consistent ways you live each day, in the kindness you offer, the curiosity you nurture, the love you give. If your life was chosen, then these seemingly small acts may be the very heart of your purpose, shaping not only your story, but the stories of those around you. Now consider again the balance between choice and destiny. If your life was chosen before birth, then your purpose is already woven into the fabric of your existence. But discovering it requires your participation. It is like a treasure hidden in plain sight. You must live, explore, and reflect to uncover it. Every choice you make brings you closer to or further from alignment with that purpose. In this way, your free will becomes the very tool through which the chosen life unfolds. This brings us back to the mystery of meaning. What if the meaning of your life is not something you invent, but something you remember? What if it was inscribed within you before birth, waiting to be rediscovered through the experiences you live? That would explain why certain moments feel so deeply resonant, why certain paths feel so natural. They are reminders of a choice made long ago, a choice that continues to echo through your every step. Was it you, on some higher level of existence, selecting the life that would best serve your growth? Was it some greater intelligence, like the universe itself, shaping your path for reasons beyond your understanding? Or was it a collaboration, a kind of cosmic agreement between you and forces greater than yourself? The idea of pre-birth choice appears in many spiritual and philosophical traditions. In some forms of reincarnation belief, the soul is said to select the circumstances of its next life, its family, its challenges, even its physical body. The purpose of these choices is growth, learning, and balance. If you harmed others in one lifetime, you might choose to experience the perspective of the harmed in another. If you spent one lifetime in wealth and privilege, you might choose the opposite in the next, to understand life from a different angle. This is not seen as punishment, but as education. The soul becomes wiser through experiencing all sides of the human condition. In certain mystical traditions, this choosing is imagined almost like planning a journey. Before birth, the soul meets with guides or teachers, beings of wisdom who help lay out possible paths. The soul considers what it wishes to learn, and together they decide on a life that will provide those lessons. Then the soul forgets, entering the physical world with no conscious memory of the choice, so that the experiences feel real and unfiltered. It's like an actor stepping into a role without remembering the script, so that the performance carries authentic emotion. But is there evidence of this outside of spiritual stories? Some researchers point to accounts from children who claim to remember past lives. Across cultures, thousands of children have been documented describing details about previous lives they could not possibly know otherwise. These cases often include specific names, places, and events later confirmed as real. While these stories don't prove that lives are chosen, they suggest that consciousness may continue beyond death and return in new forms. If that is true, then it's not hard to imagine that choice plays a role in shaping each return. Even in psychology, there are subtle clues. The theory of archetypes, developed by Carl Jung, suggests that the human mind carries universal patterns of meaning and purpose. These archetypes, like the hero, the teacher, the explorer, seem to guide lives toward certain themes. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps these archetypes are the blueprints of the choices made. Your soul may have chosen the archetype it wished to embody in this lifetime. and the story you are living is an expression of that theme. Of course, there is another possibility. Perhaps the choice was not yours at all, but the universe's. Maybe consciousness is not separate from the cosmos, but an expression of it. In this view, the universe creates lives the way a tree creates leaves. Each one is unique, but all are part of the same whole. If that is true, then your life may have been chosen by the universe itself, designed as part of the ongoing unfolding of existence. You're not separate from this choice because you are the universe, experiencing itself in human form. This perspective can shift the way you see destiny. If your life was chosen by the universe, then every detail of it, your family, your struggles, your passions, are expressions of cosmic creativity. They are not random. They are part of the universe knowing itself through you. The poet Rumi hinted at this when he wrote that you are not just a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop. If that is true, then your chosen life is both deeply personal and unimaginably vast, because it carries the intelligence of the cosmos within it. Science, too, offers ideas that resonate with this mystery. Quantum physics has shown us that reality is not as solid as it seems. Particles can exist in multiple states until observed, and events can be linked across space and time in ways that defy ordinary understanding. Some interpretations suggest that all possible outcomes exist simultaneously in a vast web of potential. If that is the case, then perhaps choosing a life is like collapsing one possibility out of the infinite, selecting one thread of experience from the endless fabric of reality. This leads to an extraordinary thought. What if every possible version of your life exists, but the one you are living now was the one chosen before you were born? There may be countless versions of you, but this version is the story you are immersed in, the one selected for reasons only your soul or the universe fully understands. Another intriguing question is whether the choice was complete or partial. Did you choose every detail or only the outline? Some philosophies suggest that major themes are chosen, like the family you are born into, the core challenges you will face, the talents you will carry. But the details remain flexible. It's like sketching the broad strokes of a painting before filling in the colours. The outline is destiny, but the colouring is free will. This would explain why life feels both structured and open, both guided and surprising. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there patterns that feel larger than coincidence? Perhaps you've noticed repeating themes, relationships that teach similar lessons, challenges that arise in different forms, opportunities that seem to come when you're ready. These patterns may be clues to the themes chosen before birth. They may be the threads of your chosen story, weaving through your life in ways that guide you toward growth. And yet within these patterns, you still make choices. You decide how to respond, how to grow, how to interpret your experiences. Two people could face the same challenge, but one finds despair, while the other finds strength. If your life was chosen before birth, then maybe the challenges were set, but your responses remain your own. The story is chosen, but the meaning you give it is created in real time. This brings us to the paradox of freedom within destiny. If your life was chosen, then you are living out a story already designed. But within that story, you are free to shape how it unfolds, how it feels, and what it means. It is like playing music. The notes may be written, but the performance is alive. The same song can be played with sorrow or with joy, with hesitation or with passion. Your life may be the same. The chosen story is the sheet music, but you are the performer, bringing it to life in your unique way. In this light, the question of who chose your life becomes less important than how you live it. Whether it was you, the universe, or some collaboration between the two, the fact remains: you are here living this life. And the beauty is that you can choose how to meet it. You can live with awareness, curiosity, and courage, transforming even the hardest moments into opportunities for meaning. And perhaps that is the deepest truth of all. If your life was chosen before birth, then it was chosen because it matters. It was chosen because it has something to teach you, something to contribute, something to add to the unfolding story of existence. And whether you remember making the choice or not, you are living it now, step by step, moment by moment, bringing it into reality. What about suffering? Why would anyone choose pain, loss, or hardship? Why would a soul agree to live through illness, poverty, heartbreak, or tragedy? At first, it seems unthinkable. But when viewed through the lens of growth and meaning, suffering takes on a different role. Consider how much you have learned from the hardest times in your life. Pain often teaches lessons that joy cannot. Failure can teach resilience, loss can awaken compassion, and struggle can reveal strengths you didn't know you had. If your life was chosen before birth, then the challenges may not be punishments, but opportunities. Tests designed to stretch you, awaken you, and shape you into the person you were meant to become. This doesn't mean suffering is easy, or that it should be glorified. It simply means that difficulty may serve a purpose beyond what can be seen in the moment. A soul might choose hardship not because it desires pain, but because it desires growth. Just as an athlete chooses intense training to build strength, or a student chooses difficult lessons to gain wisdom, a soul may choose a life with challenges to expand its understanding. Philosophers have wrestled with this question for centuries, especially when it comes to the problem of evil. Why does suffering exist in a universe that is supposedly guided by intelligence or love? One possible answer is that suffering is part of the design of experience itself. Without darkness, light has no meaning. Without loss, love cannot be fully appreciated. Without struggle, triumph lacks depth. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps it was chosen with this paradox in mind, that the hardest moments may hold the seeds of the greatest insights. Some spiritual traditions go further, suggesting that souls sometimes choose to take on suffering not only for themselves, but for others. In this view, a soul may agree to live through difficulty to teach compassion to those around it, to break cycles of harm, or to bring about greater awareness in a family, a community, or even a society. In this sense, suffering can become an act of service, chosen with courage and selflessness. But suffering also raises the question of fate versus freedom. If your life was chosen before birth, are your hardships unchangeable? Or can they be softened, transformed, even transcended? Many traditions suggest that while challenges may be chosen, how they unfold remains flexible. You may not be able to avoid certain storms, but you can learn how to navigate them. You can choose how to grow from them, how to transform them into wisdom, and how to use them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Psychology provides an interesting parallel here. Studies on resilience show that people who experience hardship often emerge stronger, more empathetic, and more capable of facing future challenges. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth. It doesn't mean suffering is desirable, but it does mean that humans have a remarkable ability to transform difficulty into strength. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps this resilience was part of the design, the soul's way of ensuring that pain is never wasted, but always carries the potential for growth. We can also think about suffering in terms of contrast. Imagine a painting made only of light colours. It would lack depth, shadow, and texture. Now imagine one that includes both light and dark, shadow and brightness. The contrast creates richness, making the whole image more profound. Life may be the same. The dark moments, as painful as they are, may be what give the bright moments their brilliance. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps it was chosen with this understanding: that contrast is necessary for the full expression of the human experience. There's another angle to consider: the mystery of timing. Have you ever noticed how challenges sometimes come at exactly the moment when you are ready, even if it doesn't feel that way at first? You may face a loss that forces you to grow just when you need to expand, or you may encounter an obstacle that in hindsight prepared you for something greater. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps the timing of challenges was also chosen with care, arriving not randomly, but as part of a sequence meant to guide your unfolding. Still, suffering raises deep questions about fairness. Why are some lives filled with hardship while others seem relatively easy? Why are some people born into privilege while others are born into struggle? If lives are chosen, does that mean souls willingly select such disparities? Some traditions say yes, that souls choose a wide variety of experiences across many lifetimes to gain full understanding. A soul that once lived in wealth may choose poverty to learn humility and empathy. A soul that once enjoyed health may choose illness to understand vulnerability. Over many lifetimes, the balance emerges, even if any single life seems unfair. Others suggest that the choosing is not about fairness, but about contribution. Some souls may choose harder paths because they have the strength to handle them, and because those paths create ripples that affect many others. In this sense, difficult lives may sometimes be among the most courageous choices, not because they are easy, but because they carry profound meaning. Even outside of spiritual traditions, we see hints of this perspective. Many great leaders, thinkers, and artists faced immense suffering, and yet their struggles became the foundation of their contributions. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, wrote about finding meaning in suffering and inspired millions. Frida Kahlo, who endured lifelong pain, transformed her suffering into art that continues to move hearts today. If their lives were chosen before birth, then perhaps their suffering was not meaningless. It was the fire that forged their gifts. Of course, this is not to say that all suffering is chosen, or that every tragedy has a hidden purpose we can easily understand. Mystery remains, and humility is important. Sometimes suffering feels senseless, and perhaps, from the human perspective, it is. But if your life was chosen before birth, then it may hold layers of meaning that are not visible from within time. Just as a character in a novel cannot always see the author's intent, we may not fully see the reasons for suffering while we are living through it. The meaning may only become clear in hindsight, or perhaps only beyond this life. And that brings us to an even deeper possibility. What if the soul does not fear suffering the way humans do? To the soul, pain may be temporary, a passing shadow compared to the vastness of eternal existence. From the soul's perspective, even a difficult lifetime may be like a single challenging chapter in a much larger story. If that is true, then choosing suffering may not be as daunting as it feels to us here. It may be understood as part of a much greater whole, one in which love and growth ultimately outweigh the pain. So perhaps suffering, while hard to accept, is part of the mystery of pre-birth choice. It may be a tool for growth, a way to deepen compassion, or even an act of service. It may not always feel fair or comprehensible, but it may still carry meaning beyond what we can see. And if your life was chosen before birth, then even your hardest moments may have been chosen not to break you, but to shape you, to teach you, and to connect you more deeply to the shared human story, the people around you. Were they also chosen? Did your soul select not only the events of your life, but the companions who would walk beside you, the friends, the family, the strangers who cross your path at exactly the right moment. Think about how often relationships feel destined. You meet someone new and instantly feel a sense of familiarity, as if you've known them before. You cross paths with a teacher or mentor just when you need guidance. You fall in love and feel as though fate itself brought you together. These moments may not be coincidences. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps the people in your life were chosen too. Their lives and yours carefully woven together in a vast network of connection. Some traditions describe these connections in terms of soul groups. A soul group is said to be a cluster of souls that reincarnate together across many lifetimes, playing different roles for each other in different stories. In one life, someone may be your parent. In another, they may be your child. A close friend in one lifetime might appear as a sibling or even as a rival in another. The purpose of these shifting roles is learning. Each relationship offers new perspectives, new lessons, and new opportunities for growth. If your life was chosen before birth, then the people around you may have agreed to be part of your story long before you were born. This can explain why some relationships feel so deep, so immediate, even without long histories. It can also explain why certain relationships are challenging. Sometimes the people who frustrate you the most are also the ones who push you to grow. If souls choose their connections before birth, then perhaps even the difficult relationships serve a purpose, forcing you to face parts of yourself that you might otherwise avoid. Psychology echoes this in its own way. Researchers studying attachment and relationships have noted how patterns often repeat across a person's life. The way you relate to others is shaped by early bonds, and these patterns can draw you towards certain types of people. It can feel almost like destiny, falling into the same kinds of relationships again and again. From a psychological perspective, these patterns are the mind's way of seeking resolution. From a spiritual perspective, they may be the unfolding of pre-birth agreements, set in place so that growth can occur. Another intriguing idea is that of divine appointments. This phrase is often used to describe those moments when you meet exactly the right person at exactly the right time. Perhaps you were struggling with a problem and suddenly encountered someone with the answer. Or maybe you were at a crossroads, unsure of your direction, when you stumbled into a conversation that changed your path. If your life was chosen before birth, then these encounters may not be accidents. They may be part of the plan, markers along your journey, guiding you forward. Even casual connections can carry deep meaning. Think of the stranger who smiled at you on a difficult day, the co-worker who gave you a piece of advice you'll never forget, the neighbour who showed up just when you needed help. These small interactions may seem random, but what if they were written into the script of your life? What if every person you meet is part of the chosen path, playing a role in your story, whether large or small? Science has its own way of describing these connections. Network theory, for example, studies how individuals are linked in webs of relationships, and how these connections shape behavior, influence, and opportunity. Research has shown that even indirect connections, the friends of friends, can have measurable effects on your life, from your health to your happiness. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps these networks are not only social, but also spiritual, part of a larger design weaving lives together in ways both visible and invisible. Romantic relationships raise even deeper questions. Many people speak of soulmates, partners who feel like they were meant to be, as if two lives were designed to intertwine. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps soulmates are real, chosen as part of the story to bring love, challenge, and transformation. But perhaps the idea of soulmate is broader than just romance. A soulmate could be anyone whose presence profoundly shapes your journey. A friend, a teacher, even an adversary. The bond may not always be easy, but it carries a sense of inevitability. as though it was written into the fabric of your life from the beginning. Family, too, can be seen in this light. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps you chose your parents. Not because they would give you an easy life, but because they would give you the experiences you needed. Some souls may choose nurturing families, while others may choose difficult ones, each offering different lessons. The same may be true of children, that they choose their parents, entering the world through the circumstances that best serve their own journeys. Seen this way, even the challenges of family life may carry hidden meaning, part of a larger design that extends across generations. This perspective can be both comforting and challenging. Comforting because it suggests that no relationship is meaningless, that every connection serves a purpose in your story. Challenging because it means even painful relationships may have been chosen, but perhaps that challenge is part of the growth. Just as suffering can shape the soul, so can difficult connections. They may force you to set boundaries, to develop compassion, or to discover strength you didn't know you had. Another dimension of chosen relationships is the idea of unfinished business. Some traditions suggest that souls return to complete lessons or to resolve unresolved dynamics. If you feel a strong sense of déjà vu with someone, or if a relationship feels strangely intense, it may be because the connection spans more than one lifetime. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps part of the choosing involved returning to people with whom you share unfinished threads, weaving them into your story once more until balance is restored. And then there are the brief encounters. Those who come into your life for a short time and then disappear. These too may be part of the design. A fleeting friendship, a passing romance, a stranger's kindness, all can leave lasting impressions. If your life was chosen before birth, then even these short chapters may carry significance, offering lessons or gifts that shape you in ways you may not realize until much later. The idea that relationships are chosen does not remove the importance of free will. Even if certain people are written into your story, how you relate to them remains up to you. A connection may be destined, but the quality of that connection is shaped by your choices, by your honesty, your empathy, your willingness to grow. If your life was chosen before birth, then relationships may be both fate and freedom. The meeting is destined, but the dance is yours to create. Seen in this way, the people around you are not random characters in your story, but co-creators of it. They are fellow travelers, walking their own chosen paths, which intersect with yours in ways both beautiful and mysterious. Each encounter, whether joyful or painful, is part of the grand design, shaping you as you also shape them. What about the moments that feel like chance? The unexpected twists, the accidents, the coincidences that shape your path in ways you never could have predicted. Were those, too, part of the choice? Or are they the wild, unpredictable forces of life breaking into the plan? Consider how often turning points arrive in disguise. A missed flight leads you to meet someone you otherwise never would have known. A job you didn't get opens the door to something better. An illness forces you to slow down. And in doing so, you discover a hidden passion or strength. At the time, these moments may feel random, even unfair. But looking back, they often seem strangely necessary, as if they were written into the story from the beginning. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps even the detours were part of the design, shaping your journey in ways that only reveal themselves in hindsight. This is where the idea of synchronicity becomes especially fascinating. Coined by Carl Jung, synchronicity refers to meaningful coincidences, moments when events align in ways that feel too significant to be random. For example, you think of an old friend and then receive a call from them moments later, or you stumble across a book that contains exactly the wisdom you needed at that point in your life. These events defy ordinary explanation, but they often carry a sense of deep significance as if the universe itself is whispering guidance. If your life was chosen before birth, synchronicities may be signposts, gentle reminders from beyond the veil that you're on the right path. Many people report experiencing these uncanny alignments during times of transition or crisis. It is as though, in the moments when you are most in need of guidance, the invisible threads of destiny become more visible. The right people appear, the right opportunities emerge, and the right insights arrive. To some, this feels like divine intervention. To others, it feels like the unfolding of a chosen path. Either way, it suggests that life is not as random as it seems. Science, while cautious about synchronicity, has its own way of approaching these phenomena. The brain is a pattern-seeking machine, always searching for connections and meaning. From this perspective, coincidences are simply the result of probability and perception. But even scientists acknowledge that human life is filled with improbable events, moments so unlikely that their occurrence feels meaningful. If your life was chosen before birth, perhaps these improbable alignments are not coincidences at all, but carefully placed markers, guiding you through the unfolding of your story. Think about your own life for a moment. Have there been coincidences that felt like more than chance? Encounters that shaped your path in ways too significant to ignore? These moments may be glimpses of the deeper design, hints that your story is not random but chosen. This perspective also brings us to the concept of destiny and choice existing side by side. If your life was chosen before birth, then perhaps the larger framework is set, but the details remain open. It was like walking through a forest on a chosen trail. The path is there, stretching ahead, but within it you can choose how to walk. You can rush or linger, explore the edges, or walk straight through. Along the way, you may encounter animals, weather, or unexpected turns. Some of these surprises may have been written into the path, while others may arise naturally, adding to the richness of the journey. And then there are the great turning points, the crossroads where a single choice seems to alter everything. Were those two chosen in advance? Some traditions say yes, that before birth you chose not only the life itself, but also the key decisions you would face. These decision points are like branches in the story, opportunities to express free will within the chosen framework. From the perspective of the soul, it may not matter which branch you take, because each leads to growth in its own way. What matters is that you choose, and through choosing, you create meaning. Another way to think about this is through the metaphor of a map. Imagine that before birth you chose a map with certain destinations marked. Along the way, you are free to take different routes, to linger in some places, and rush through others. But eventually, you will reach the destinations that were chosen, the pivotal experiences, the major lessons, the encounters that shape your soul. The journey is yours to create, but the landmarks are already there. This perspective helps make sense of the mysterious balance between freedom and fate. Life feels both open and guided, both surprising and inevitable. If your life was chosen before birth, then this balance may be intentional, designed to give you the experience of both discovery and destiny. You are not simply a passenger on a predetermined ride, nor are you adrift in chaos. You are walking a chosen path with freedom in your steps, a blend of structure and spontaneity that makes life both meaningful and alive. The role of chance can also be seen in the way lives intersect. Sometimes two paths cross in ways that seem impossibly unlikely. You meet someone in a faraway place who turns out to live in your own neighborhood. You encounter a partner or friend through a chain of events so unlikely it feels orchestrated. If your life was chosen before birth, then these intersections may not be accidents at all, but carefully woven points of connection in the fabric of destiny. And yet chance still plays a role. Even if lives are chosen, randomness adds texture to the story. Just as a musician may improvise within a song, life may include elements of unpredictability within the chosen framework. These surprises keep the journey alive, preventing it from becoming rigid or mechanical. They give you the chance to respond creatively, to bring your own spirit into the unfolding story. This interplay of chance and choice may be what makes life so profound. If everything were fixed, life would lose its vitality. If everything were random, life would lose its meaning. But if life was chosen before birth, then it may carry both. A chosen framework infused with the freshness of chance, creating a story that is both guided and alive. Ultimately, the question of chance invites humility. We cannot always know which events were chosen and which were random. We cannot always see the hidden patterns behind the twists of fate, but we can live as though every moment carries meaning, as though every encounter and every detour matters. Because whether by chance or by choice, each moment shapes the story of your life, and each story is part of the great unfolding of existence. We have journeyed through a great many possibilities, exploring what it might mean if your life was chosen long before you were born. We've looked at the role of destiny, the weaving of choice and chance, the connections with science, spirituality, and philosophy, and the mysterious ways that meaning reveals itself over time. Now, as we bring all of this together, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What would it mean for you right now if this were true? That your life was chosen before you arrived here? That every relationship, every challenge, every joy, every loss was part of a larger story you agreed to live? It might change the way you see even the smallest moments, the frustrating delays, the unexpected encounters, the opportunities that come and go. They may all hold more significance than you realized. They may not be random interruptions, but essential notes in the music of your life. When you view life this way, even suffering can take on a different shape. Pain is never easy, but if your life was chosen beforehand, then perhaps even pain has meaning. It may be part of a lesson, a way of deepening your empathy, of shaping your soul, of preparing you for something greater. It doesn't make the pain itself good, but it does mean that it isn't meaningless. It becomes part of a journey that your deeper self willingly stepped into, knowing what could be learned and gained. This perspective can also ease the weight of regret. If your path was chosen before birth, then maybe even the mistakes were part of the plan. Maybe you needed those wrong turns, those missteps, to learn what you know now. Instead of being scars on your story, they are brushstrokes on the canvas. They are not separate from your destiny. They are woven into it. Every choice, even the ones you wish you could undo, may still be part of the life you came here to live. And then there are the relationships, the people who come into your life and leave deep imprints on your heart. If your life was chosen before you were born, then perhaps those relationships were chosen too. Some souls might have agreed to meet you here, to play out certain roles, whether as friends, family, teachers, or even challengers. Each encounter becomes part of the story, shaping who you are and how you grow. And in turn, you become part of their story, playing your role in their chosen path. Seen this way, human connection becomes sacred, a web of chosen interactions stretching across lifetimes and beyond. The mystery of death also takes on a new perspective in this light. If your life was chosen before you were born, then perhaps your death is not random either. The timing, the circumstances, may be part of the story you agreed to live. And just as birth is not the beginning, perhaps death is not the end. It may simply be the closing of one chapter, the completion of one chosen life, before the soul continues its journey into another form, another story. This view can bring comfort, reminding us that life and death are both part of the same unfolding mystery, chosen and embraced before we ever arrived here. What is striking is how this perspective can change the way we live right now. If your life was chosen, then every moment is part of something meaningful. That doesn't mean you should stop striving, stop choosing, or stop caring. On the contrary, it means that your choices, your effort, your love, and your presence matter all the more. They are not wasted, not random, but expressions of the life you're here to live. Your very being carries meaning simply by existing. At the same time, holding this perspective requires humility. We cannot know with certainty what was chosen or why. We cannot see the full picture of the story while we are still living inside it. We are like characters in a novel who cannot read the whole book. But even without full knowledge, we can live with a sense of wonder, openness, and trust that perhaps, just perhaps, there is more to our lives than meets the eye. This balance of not knowing and still trusting may be one of the greatest lessons. To live as though your life has meaning, even when you cannot see it. To treat your experiences as though they matter, even when you do not understand why. To embrace your story with curiosity, rather than certainty, allowing the mystery to be part of the beauty. And what of sleep? At the very beginning of this journey, we began together by preparing for rest, and now we return there. Sleep itself may be one of the greatest reminders that there is more to life than we understand. Each night, you surrender to the unknown. You let go of control, drift into dreams, and awaken hours later without remembering most of where you've been. Sleep is a leap of trust, a daily reminder that parts of our existence are hidden, mysterious, and yet profoundly necessary. Perhaps sleep is also a rehearsal for life and death itself, a letting go, a passage into the unknown, and a return. And if your life was chosen before you were born, then sleep may be the place where you touch that deeper part of yourself, the part that remembers, the part that knows. In dreams, glimpses of forgotten wisdom may come through. In the stillness of rest, your soul may realign with the path it chose long ago. Sleep becomes not just rest for the body, but nourishment for the spirit, connecting you to the greater story that you are living out. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, consider this possibility, that you are exactly where you are meant to be, that your joys and struggles, your hopes and regrets, your connections and your solitude are all part of a chosen path. You don't have to know the reasons. You don't have to see the whole map. You only have to trust that there is meaning in your being, and that the mystery of your life is unfolding exactly as it was meant to. Whether or not this is true, the idea itself can be a source of comfort. It can ease the weight of uncertainty, soften the edge of regret, and bring a sense of wonder to the everyday. It can remind you that your life matters, not just in the grand events, but in the small moments, the quiet breaths, the simple choices, the acts of kindness, the dreams that carry you through the night. And so, as you close your eyes and let the day fade away, let yourself sink into that mystery. Let go of needing to know, needing to control, needing to understand. Let yourself rest in the possibility that your life was chosen before you were born, and that everything you are, everything you do, is part of a story both greater and more beautiful than you can imagine.